This review was written by Tsumugi Johnson. Caligula Effect is among the most underrated Vita games of all time. It's an exceptionally crafted JRPG that explores mature themes in a nuanced and complex fashion. It sports an innovative and deep battle system, and is ridden, drenched, permeated by the themes of escapism and emotional suppression that I'm sure we're all familiar with. It got a bad reputation for supposedly being a Persona 4 knockoff, and though the influence is hard to miss, calling it derivative does not do this masterpiece justice. However, Caligula Effect is not an easy game to appreciate. The battle system is obtuse, the aesthetic lacks vibrance, and the metaphorical imagery that pervades the experience probably may just seem pretentious nonsense to some if you're not familiar with the philosophical and psychoanalytical source material. Regardless, Caligula Effect wears it all on its sleeve, and if it's up your alley, you, like me, may find it both a unique and compelling experience. So what's the game about? Caligula Effect is set in the Mobius world, which is a fictional high school world managed by the idol Mew. Everyone there presents as a high school student. The point of the world is to allow people to live in a state of eternal bliss, because we all know that high school marks the peak of our lives, right? If for you personally it wasn't your peak, don't worry, Mew got your back, and she'll ensure your stay this time round will be better. You start the game as a semi-blank slate character, and you're posed a few questions regarding your reasoning for entering the world. They're highly personal, piercing questions about your pains, fears and regrets, and they instantly set the stage for what's to come. You quickly get wrapped up into a resistance group that is set to break out of the world, because Mobius is not as rosy as it seems. The group of people you team up with and come across along your journey are varied, don't fall into obvious tropes, and have a level of depth uncommon for most games. Without spoiling too much, the characters deal with legitimate concerns, responsibilities and duties familiar to us all. The central themes are escapism and the supernatural worlds we escape into. These worlds provide safe space, where the largely uncontrollable dynamics of real-life interactions are slimmed down to be clear and manageable. The game explores these themes exceptionally well, and makes the entire experience immersive in a way unlike most games. Rather than relying on making your position in the fictional world as credible as possible, it shifts to questioning your own position in the world outside of the game. Sometimes it's as if the game is talking to you via the character's dialogue. The gameplay is probably Caligula Effect's weakest point. The battle system is terribly convoluted, and will intimidate a lot of potential players. Basically, you control a group of characters, each with their own playstyle, of which you have to pick and match a coherent party. Battles play out in the 3D environment you started the battle in, including the walls, doors, objects, etc. that populated it. You can give each character a few commands, and place them anywhere on a timeline. The trick is to time each of your character's attacks so that they nicely follow one another, creating combos that leave your opponents without the chance to strike back. At the start this is terribly overwhelming, and I had no idea what I was doing for a good while. Thankfully the enemies aren't too difficult, which allows you to slowly learn the system. Before you know it, you're chaining together combos like a pro. Especially during flashy moves, the Vita does have tremendous performance issues. Thankfully the game is turn-based, so it doesn't stop you from winning, or from getting stomped on for that matter, but it does break the immersion. The best part is how here too, the game's narrative themes are carefully interwoven into the gameplay elements. Like in the naming of equipment, traumas, manifestos and stigmas replace weapon, armor and accessories. The graphics you only learn to appreciate as you come to think about the themes a little. At first glance they may strike you as a colourless version of Persona 4. There is an abundance of whiteness in their palette. With the game this steeped in its own pretentious societal psychoanalysis, however, you can't help but wonder what this means. Do we present online in a whited out version of ourselves, erasing every uncleanliness, every speck of dirt or bit of disagreeableness, correcting our impurities until we embody a disconnected ideal? Maybe, but maybe that's just pretentious blah blah, and they just ran out of budget halfway through the colouring process. Who knows? The music is great if you like J-pop, fine if you don't mind it, excruciating if you hate it. Then again, the game is centered around an idol-built fictional world, so you should have known what you're getting yourself into. I personally didn't mind it. The tunes are catchy, they're made to fit the emotional themes going on, but didn't distract from the game either. A really nice touch is how entering into a battle cues the vocal tracks to fade in on top of the instrumental background music. This is a great way to amp you up for the battle without making it seem like you just entered a separate, disconnected battle arena of sorts. In sum, I love Caligula Effect, and may personally have enjoyed my time with it more than I did Persona 4 Golden. Yet, it's not perfect. Performance can be choppy, and for all the deep narrative, there are still plenty of themes they only touch upon that are just dying to be explored more thoroughly. This could have well been left to a sequel, but I fear it wasn't successful enough to justify continued efforts. Nonetheless, the value of Caligula effect can be seen beyond momentary enjoyment of interactive media. The game invites you to take a step back and just ponder for a minute about what it all means, and what they're trying to convey. You may find yourself arguing with the characters, the writers for their portrayal of certain situations, or arguing about your own situation and your own environment. The game encourages you to do so, and that's a good thing. For all the joy we get from our escapist hobbies, sometimes we need to sit back, take a sip of a good cup of tea, and reflect. Even if Caligula effect were nothing but a catalyst for just one extra moment of reflection, it's one hell of a good moment. Thank you to Tsumugi Johnson for writing this review. So guys, have you played Caligula effect? And if you have, what did you think of it? Leave a comment below, and as always, thanks for watching.
困ったな。どうして君はここから出ようとしたの？